Hi, happy World Read Aloud Day. This is a great day because it means that librarians and parents and brothers and sisters can all have a chance to read out loud to the people near them and give them a different way of looking at a story. My name is Mrs. Etter, and I would like to share with you one of my favorite books. It's very, very old. It's a book by Cathy Bellows called Four Fat Rats. And this book was published by Macmillan Publishers in 1987, kind of a long time ago. Mr. Rat was very big. Mrs. Rat was rather large. And when they had babies, they didn't have ordinary babies. Oh, no. They had great, big, fat rat babies. 4 fat rats, to be exact. Mama and Papa were very, very proud. Every day, the 4 fat rats grew bigger and fatter and rattier till one day Mama and Papa decided it was time to send them out into the wide, wide world. Now, as soon as you get out into the wide, wide world, said Papa, you must gather some leaves and twigs till you have a nice cozy nest, just right for a rat. And remember, my darlings, said Mama, you are rats. You must be bold and sassy and ratty as possible. Nothing else will do. Then she gave them each a bite on the nose, and Papa gave them each a bite on the nose, and out into the wide, wide world the 4 fat rats waddled. Oh, what a place the wide, wide world was! It was simply delicious. There were leaves to munch on and twigs to crunch on. There were flowers to gobble and grasses to gulp. And though the 4 fat rats wanted to build a nest, they just couldn't find the time. They were too busy eating. Finally, nighttime came, and the 4 fat rats began to shiver with the cold. But they weren't the least bit worried, for they were fat, and they were rats, and they were sure there was someone around who would take them in. So they waddled into the deep, dark forest to look for a place to sleep. Now, in the deep, dark forest, not far from the rats, there happened to be a rabbit hole tucked into the hollow of a tree. It was a very cozy rabbit hole with a door and a window, and when the 4 rats saw it, they thought it was perfect, just right for a rat. So they knocked at the door and looked in the window. Hello, they said. Anybody home? Rats are here. Rats. Deep inside the rabbit hole, Mr. and Mrs. Rabbit were getting ready for bed. Rats, they whispered. Could there really be rats outside our door? They crept down the hallway and took a peek outside. Sure enough, there they were. 4 huge, gigantic rats with beady eyes and sharp teeth and long, pointy tails. The poor rabbits almost fainted with fright. Hurry, my fluffy ones, cried Mr. Rabbit. We've got to get out of here. And out the back window they hopped. Meanwhile, the 4 fat rats stood outside, knocking and yelling and making a terrible racket, until finally they just opened the door and let themselves in. Sighed the first fat rat, taking a bite out of the rabbit's table. What a delicious place this is. So tastefully decorated, said the second, munching on a chair. Just right for a rat, said the third, jumping in the bed. I think we should stay, declared the fourth. And they would have stayed too. But the next morning, when they awoke, they noticed that right above them, at the top of a tree, there lived a whole village of squirrels. The squirrels had very nice nests with crunchy, crackly nuts to eat. And best of all, they were high in the sky. What a view! It drove the fat rats crazy, especially the view. Just look at those squirrels up there, cried the 4th rat. It's a disgrace the way they're always looking down on us. There they are, way up there, and here are we, way down here, said the 3rd rat. Why, it doesn't seem right. Us rats should be up on top. And so we shall be, said the 2nd rat. And being very ratty and very sassy, he climbed right up that tree. Ugh! Umph! It wasn't easy for a fat rat to climb, but he did it anyway. And when he reached the top, the other three followed. Yes, home on the treetop was just right for a rat. The four fat rats had a wonderful view. They could look down on anybody and everybody, and they could eat whenever they got hungry. They just stepped out onto a limb and clunk, the squirrels provided them with all the nuts they could eat. But one day, the rabbits happened to catch sight of a barn in the distance, with cows standing outside the door. Why, look at that, said the first rat. Look at that house those cows live in. It's huge. I think it's a barn, said the second rat. Of course it's a barn, said the first rat, but it's a painted barn. And look, it even has a fence to keep the riffraff out. A fence, cried the third rat. Why, the very idea. Here we are, living in an old tree with squirrels running all over the place, and there they are, living in a barn with a fence. If anyone's going to live in a barn, said the fourth rat, I think it ought to be us rats. So out of the tree they climbed, and across the fields they marched. Oh my, said the Guernsey cow. Don't look now, girls, but I see 4 great big fat rats, and they're headed this way. Just ignore them, said the Jersey cow nearby. Just pay no attention to them, and they'll go away. But the rats didn't go away. They marched right past the cows. Hello, ladies, they said, and marched on towards the barn. Look, bellowed the Guernsey, they're headed right into our barn. Don't worry, said the Jersey. Remember the bull. If they go inside the barn, the bull will take care of them. Sure enough, as soon as the rats stepped inside the barn, the bull began to stomp and snarl and snort something awful. Out of my barn, he bellowed, but the rats paid no attention. After all, the great big bull was tied up in his stall, and the 4 rats had the run of the place. What a life! The 4 fat rats ate the very best kernels of the very best corn cobs. They took their baths in the cows' drinking water, and they made their beds in the horses' oats. They tiptoed all through the chicken feed and played catch in the pig slop. Nobody could stand them, not the cows, not the horses, not the chickens, not even the pigs. But the rats didn't care. After all, they were rats, and they were fat. And every day they got bigger and fatter and rattier and sassier. Then, early one evening, as they were strolling around the chicken coop, they happened to notice a house in the distance. It was a pretty yellow house with a garden all around it and curtains at the window. Just look at where the people live, the 4th rat cried, pointing to the house. They live in a house, a yellow house. So what, said the first rat, who cares? Our barn is much bigger and it's painted red. Bigger, yes, said the 4th rat, but does it have a garden all around? No, we've got a pigsty all around our house. And do we have curtains at the windows? No, we don't even have windows. And when they looked at the barn, they saw it was true. Yuck! So over to the house they waddled to get a closer look. You can have a closer look too. Inside the window they peeked. They saw rugs on the floor and pictures on the wall and a big bag of garbage under the sink. But that wasn't all. Just look at those people, whispered the 4th rat. Look, they're wearing clothes. Clothes, cried the 3rd rat, and here we are, naked in our fur. It's a disgrace, said the 3rd rat. That's what it is, a disgrace. Us rats have to live in a barn with animals, while those people sit in their fine house. They don't even have tails. It was too much for the fat rats. So they waited till dark, till the farmer and his wife went to sleep, and then into the yellow house they crept. 1, 2, 3, 4. They were sneaky rats. 4, 3, 2, 1. Under the rug they crawled. Carefully they turned on the light. Cautiously they opened up the sewing box, and then ever so quietly they began to dress for dinner. Ribbons, buttons, beads, nothing was too fine for the rats. They draped lace around their shoulders and hung safety pins from their ears, and when they were perfectly perfect, they took each other by the arm and into the kitchen they pranced. First stop was the garbage bag. They ate eggshells and tea bags and coffee grinds galore. They nibbled on orange peels, banana peels, potato peels, and onion peels. They devoured crumbs and noodles and pieces of fat. And when they were so stuffed, they could barely fit another crumb between their little ratty lips, that's when they noticed the pie. It was a blueberry pie, a big, juicy pie that sat on the kitchen table and shimmered in the morning light. Who could resist? Not the 4 fat rats. They gobbled that pie right down. Oh, my, sighed the first rat as she sat on the edge of the pie plate, licking her paws. I just can't believe how clever we are. And how rich we are, said the second rat, wiping his whiskers. And how lovely we are, said the third. And how fat we are, said the fourth. And the fat they were, for when they tried to get up, they found they were too fat to move. They could hear the people stirring upstairs. What a panic! We gotta get out of here, they cried. But it was no use. They tried rolling onto their feet. They tried crawling down from the table. They tried pushing themselves up with their tails. But try as they might, they couldn't budge. Clomp, clomp, clomp. Down the stairs came the people. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Into the kitchen they marched. Rats! Screamed the little old lady. Rats! Yelled the little old man. Oh, rats, said the 4 fat rats. And before they knew what was happening, swoosh! Across the kitchen the 4 rats flew. Whoomp! Out the door they tumbled. Round and round they rolled past the cow's barn, with the cows all laughing. On and on they rolled under the squirrel's tree, with the squirrels all screeching. Further and further they rolled, over the rabbit's hole, with the rabbits all giggling. They rolled and they rolled, till finally they rolled right past their old rat's nest. Papa, Papa, cried their mama as the rats went rolling by. Just look at our babies. Oh, Papa, aren't they darling? Aren't they adorable? Aren't they fat? And they were, too. They were very fat. They were 4 fat rats. And that's the end of the story. They might not be very nice rats, but they were 4 fat rats. I hope you liked it.